Hello, you've reached Granny Horse Training, and I'm doing one of my care videos here today, and I wanted to show you what I put in my first aid kit. This is just a plastic toolbox that I picked up at one of the local department stores. I think Sunbirds are there in Chehalis. Anyhow, you want to fill it up with as much stuff as you can afford to buy, because first aid care can get expensive to put together a box, and then of course some things outdate, so you have to replace them. But some of the little tools you might want are going to be things like bandage scissors. These are well worth their weight. This is specifically called a 7 1/4 inch bandage scissor, and it's got the little rounded tip on it, and they're nice and sharp. So you can cut through your bandages once you've bandaged up something. Because let me tell you, once you've bandaged up a horse's leg or done a hoof wrap and then you can't get it off, that's not very much fun. And another tool you might want to get a hold of are called hemostats. And these are good for pulling out things like porcupine quills, things like that. If you're going to pull a porcupine quill, I guess you got to cut the tip of it, let some of the air out, and then it's easier to pull. Well, whatever. Another thing you want to have as hardware is a feeding syringe. This is a 60 ml feeding syringe. It's good for flushing out wounds, because you'll want to flush wounds out with saline. So anyways, yeah, more things on the top. Regular syringes, I usually have a couple of them, but I usually have tons because I do a farm with sheep and cows, so we're doing vaccinations on the babies and all kinds of stuff. Another thing that's good to have is the tick twister. This has been really great for getting ticks off the dogs. You don't get a lot of them because I put Revolution on my dogs, but they occasionally get a tick, and this has been wonderful. You're going to want to have at least a bag of a few gloves, because if something gets too disgusting or you want to keep your hands clean or something's infected or whatever, gloves are good. At least 4 rolls of vet wrap at the minimum. All animals, they got 4 legs. If they have something really bad happen, you're probably going to end up using all of them. Or if nothing else, if it's just one, you'll have enough rolls of vet wrap to get through till you can get to the store to buy more vet wrap. I generally end up buying vet wrap by the case because I end up using so much of it. And this is a first aid box I put together, and I just throw all kinds of stuff. It can be used on horses, dogs, humans, whatever. So I usually have a roll of adhesive tape, not usually used on horses, but you never know, and some other easier kind of bandage tape stuff for humans. I keep a bag of sugar for making sugar dye, and I'll show you that in another video, how to make sugar dye. It's a great hoof thing for hoof wounds. What I got in here? Oh, this is actually from a human first aid training kit, because I did take a first aid course, American Red Cross first aid course in college. And this is like a sling for putting, if your arm was injured, for humans, for slinging up your arm. You want to have diapers for horse hoof problems. Diapers, depending on what size your horse is, will depend on what size diapers you get. If you've got little mini animals, you're going to want to get little preemie diapers. These are little preemie diapers. So, and they fit Babette. I like to have some rolled gauze, because that's easier when you're doing things on the legs. And I usually have a couple different sizes. I have small ones for dogs. I have larger ones for horses and humans. I don't like it when humans get something big enough you're going to need roll gauze on. But you're also going to want some nonstick pads, so that the actual wound itself, you're bandaging this and sticking to the actual wound. So some first aid nonstick pads are nice to have. And so are surgical dressings. These are some bigger things for absorbing lots of blood. So there, at least have a couple of these around, because if you soak through one, you'd want to slap on another one if you had a really bad bleed. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And in a pinch, if you can't afford those, you don't have them, or you want to just quick put something together, little maxi pads and stuff work for soaking up blood too, of course. So if you want something that's more inexpensive to put together. And then for the big horse problems on legs, this is Gamgee highly absorbent padding. And having a roll of this, maybe two, I think I have another roll around, for doing the legs. It can cushion the leg and also provide extra padding and absorb any bleeding. You'll have to wrap it on with then some of the roll gauze to help hold it in place, and then some vet wrap to hold it in place. Or if you don't have the vet wrap and you have polo wraps, you can use your polo wraps, and these can be washed and reused. And this one I wound up so that it's ready to go on a leg, and the Velcro closures are on the inside. So if you bought polo wraps and the Velcro's on the outside of the wrap, then you need to re-roll them so they're ready to go on your horse's legs. And not a bad idea to train your horse to have their legs wrapped also in the event of emergency. I mean, some people regularly wrap their legs, but a lot of people don't. And if they're not used to wearing things on their legs, you might want to get them used to that as part of their training. Along with having a little bag of salt for making saline for flushing wounds, because you can make saline for normal saline with 9 grams of, where is that now? I'm making quite a mess here, aren't I? Anyways, you can make your own wound flush out of just saline, 9 grams of salt, and a liter of water. So, but it's also good to have some of this stuff on hand so that if you have to flush anybody's eyeballs, sensitive eyes saline solution, good to have on hand. If you get something in your eyes, dust, whatever, horses get something in their eyes, then you can flush it with this. When it outdates, you can use it on wounds. I usually have some regular human band-aids. Humans get hurt. I keep a bottle of isopropyl alcohol, 70%. And I keep this box in my truck, so because usually if wherever I am, my truck is usually, so my first aid supplies are near me. Other things you might want to have on hand, maybe you don't keep it in here, it's more of a longer term problem. This bag balm is good for a lot of things if they have cracks or chapped skin someplace on their body. Another thing you want to have too, if you have a bad wound in the summertime, you want to put SWAT around the wound to keep from having fly strike happen. Fly strikes are when you have a wound that's not cared for. The flies get in there, lay their eggs, and then the maggots hatch and start eating supposedly just the dead debris, but we've actually seen it eat live flesh, so don't always believe what you read in the books. It's good to have some liniment gel for your horse's legs, and some liniments you can wrap over it and some you can't, so read your labels. It's not for human use, so make sure you wear your gloves. Keep a bag of some gloves around for using liniment. Don't ever want to get any of this in your eyes. This is really nasty to get in your eyes. You want to have betadine solution. It's povidone iodine 5%. So betadine, or sometimes it's just called povidone iodine. So you can buy either one, do about the same thing, and this is what I make the sugar dine with, of mixing the granulated sugar and the betadine to use as a hoof pack if you have a hoof wound. So I think that's getting close to covering it. If you have these little plastic containers that sometimes they sell sheets or pillowcases or this or that, I think this was from pillowcases, but they're really handy to make yourself a little tiny first aid kit for throwing in your saddlebag. If you're going out on a trail ride, you might want to have some human bandage, you might want to have some of those, 1 or 2 of those surgical dressings in case you have a bleed, and some roll gauze to hold that surgical dressing on. Let's see, I've got, what else I got in here? And I'm probably due to get renewed the antibiotic. I got some adhesive tape for humans. I've got some kind of sport type Oh, it's called self-grip elastic bandage. This is more like for humans in case you like sprained your finger or something like that. It's kind of like vet wrap for humans. And some antibiotic ointment cream, which of course is outdated, so I should use it up and buy some new stuff. The roll gauze. So you can get a little creative with your first aid kits. You can buy first aid kits already put together, or you can buy what you think you're going to need and put it in a container. First aid supplies can get really expensive, let me tell you. But if you get it down to where you just have to replace a couple things like the antibiotic cream every year or every other year, and maybe replenish or rotate things like your betadine. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, the other thing I'd like to have, but this is more like, I use this for the maintenance with the cleaning up of the udders and backsides of horses, or if you have sheath cleaning, is the roll gauze, because you can take a bucket of water, put handfuls of this roll gauze in, and then you've got the wet sopping rag that can be used to rinse something off and then thrown out. So everything, grab a clean one, rinse it, throw it out, so you can keep things clean. That works there. And so then probably having a bucket somewhere in your truck. I usually have some kind of bucket in my truck. Isn't bad to have. So some people might keep this in the tack room on their horse trailer, but I found I just keep it in my truck because I go to a lot of places since I'm out hoof trimming, and clients don't have any first aid supplies at all. And sometimes what I end up seeing are basically needing to do first aid on a hoof wound. So before the vet comes or whatever. So that's about it. Oh, I forgot to add this. The Morton light salt mixture. Okay, so in case your horse gets overheated or you get overheated, light salt is 50% less sodium than table salt. And why is that? Because it's got salt, potassium chloride, calcium silicate, magnesium carbonate, dextrose, and potassium iodine. So it's got the salt, potassium. So it's got sodium, it's got potassium, it's got magnesium, it's got some dextrose in it, that's a sugar, and the iodine in it, and this is like an electrolyte mix. Basically, it's a cheap electrolyte mix that you can buy on your grocery store shelf called Morton light salt mix. So this isn't bad to have for both humans and your horses. Yeah, so I guess that's it. Oh, I do keep some Q-tips, because you never know when you might need Q-tips for cleaning out or getting debris out of a wound. Make sure you get your horses used to having their legs flushed with a hose. That's the most common injuries on horses, happen on their legs. Happen everywhere else too. Horses get hurt a lot, but their legs get hit a lot. They get the brunt of everything. The skin's very thin compared to the rest of their body. There's not a lot of muscles there to protect the leg, and so when they also have a condition that happens, proud flesh. If they get a wound and then you don't attend to that wound, keep it clean and bandage it, they can start getting this overabundance of granular tissue called proud flesh, and that can be a real problem on horses. So you want to, don't let your wounds go on their horses, even a little one. You want to attend to it, get it cleaned up, maybe get some betadine on it, that kind of thing. So thanks for watching. I hope you found some value in this, and you might consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the notification bell so you catch the next one. And I hope if you catch any of the training, you enjoy my positive and negative reinforcement training with Lacey. Thanks for watching. Bye now.